It's time for Drummer Nation. My guest is Steve Maxwell. Steve Maxwell came onto the scene as a new and interesting dealer several years back with a fantastic store in New York and Chicago. Hello, Steve. Thank you for doing my show.
My pleasure, Michael.
One of the things I noticed the last few years I had my business, in the cymbal business, was that we were having a hard time adding dealers faster than dealers were going out of business. But your store is thriving. You must be doing something different. What's the state of the industry and what's your take on it?
Well, I do think one of the issues is that independent drum shops that are trying to compete with internet only and big box stores are kind of doomed to failure. And the way I sort of look at it is we have a niche market business. We specialize in certain things. We try to keep doing what we do best. We try not to go down the path of what I call the race to the bottom, where everybody's trying to sell the same product for $1 cheaper than the next guy with free shipping, et cetera, and pretty soon there's no money in it for anyone and people can't stay in business. I think it's important for a shop to have not only the ability to offer niche products, but also to offer that sense of service and the sense of community in the areas that they exist in. That sense of community can't be built with an internet-only presence. So we think it's an interesting market. We try to do what we do best, stay focused on it, and stay out of that race to the bottom in that low-cost world that we seem to be living in.
Well, the dealers to me that are thriving seem to be the ones who have taken up the mantle on this. I used to get calls from people who wanted to put pictures of my products on their website and then have me send something if they snagged a sale.
Yeah, I know. It's a very, very tricky thing. The reality of life is that you are not getting in this business to get rich. And the bottom line is you do it because you love it and you want to do it and you need to do it and you enjoy it, hopefully. Otherwise, you should do something else. But this is not where you're going to jump in and let me post pictures of your product and so do 900 other people and nobody sells anything. And it's just pointless. We just don't subscribe to that.
Exactly. So tell me how this sense of community plays out. What are some of the things you're doing?
You know, I think it's really an important thing. In New York City, for example, when I used to go to New York in the early 70s, I would go to Frank Ippolito's Pro Percussion, and everyone would be there. Art Blakey would be there. Elvin would be there. Papa Joe Jones. And this is where players came to meet, congregate, talk, maybe even help each other find gigs. It was a strong sense of community. And we wanted to take that mantle up, both in New York City and in Chicago, which was Bill Crowden's shop, Maury LaShawn's shop in Chicago had that same feel. In Hollywood, you had it with Pro Drum Shop. These are the kinds of shops where people come, they buy their gear, they congregate, they meet each other, they talk, and it's that sense of community that I think is really important. So we've always fostered that in New York. In Chicago, we take it a step further by doing one night a week. We do a jam session, one night a week, one night a month. The first Saturday of every month, we do an open jam session. Anybody can come and play. And we're not looking for money here. We want people to come in, feel comfortable, enjoy being around each other, share information, share contacts. I think it's a healthy thing that does not exist. And you also need people to be able to touch and feel products. That doesn't exist in online-only environments.
Now you're talking drum shop, baby.
Bingo.
I lived in LA for 10 years, and you could go to Stan's place at Pro Drum
Yep.
on a Friday afternoon and run into anybody.
Yep.
And
Yep.
we would all get gigs from one another, and that's how the thing works. You know, it's supposed to be a community, and that's sort of what is at the heart of Drummer Nation.
New York is a great example of this. Vinnie Colaiuta was in for his birthday a couple of years ago, and he and I were sitting up there playing Craviotto drum sets back and forth with each other, and just then sitting around talking. And people would walk in the door, regular customers, and they'd see me sitting talking with Vinny, and they'd turn around, they'd do a double take. Like, oh my God. Or last week in New York, I was out in New York, and your buddy and mine, Jeff Hamilton. Jeff comes in, and we're sitting around talking, and people walk around the corner, and they go, oh my God, there's Jeff. People need to be able to have access to those people, and those guys are so gracious. They're thrilled to talk to people. Jeff is great to talk to everybody, and this is really the experience you don't get sitting looking at your computer screen.
Here, here. So tell me about your product lineup. You have an interesting philosophy there too. I know you have vintage gear. You're kind of become the vintage guy. How'd you get going with that?
Oh, the vintage gear goes back to my youth. I was a big fan of vintage always. Learned a lot about it from Charlie Donnelly in Newington, Connecticut, as many of us did, and just always loved it. And when I retired from running other businesses when I was 55 and decided to really focus on the shop. I had a small shop in Chicago, and what we always did was we specialized in vintage. That's a big part of what we do. I think at this stage of the game, we're probably the largest vintage dealer worldwide, which I'm very happy to do, and I'm appreciative of the support we get. But beyond vintage, we also focus on niche markets. I look at smaller number of brands that we can support deeply. So Craviotto is an example there. Gretsch USA is an example. Ludwig USA. We try to invest in brands that we can do something different and unique with. And then we do product differentiation is important to us. So there's certain configurations that were available only to us because we'll buy sufficient quantities for that. We want the product to be differentiated. We want it to be good product, and we want to invest deeply in those brands. We're doing that with the Thomas Star series right now as well, which I really think is fine stuff. And we also do other things. There are other spokes off the hub of the wheel, so to speak. We do a lot of vintage reproduction parts and other little side entities that we use to differentiate our business from others.
Now, differentiating your business and vintage gear and the sense of community is well and good, but you still have to play ball in the current 21st century with online offerings as well, too, right?
Right.
So you've embraced both sides of that.
That's very true. Yes, and with our website, we have I'll say it's not the cookie cutter website design you'll see from most people. That website design and that main page reflects what I feel is important for people to see. It is my input. That main page of the website is me speaking directly to everyone. I want them to hear what I've got, and I'll tell them about new products and the like. And we get a tremendous amount of activity through the website with sound files, video, and we're shipping worldwide every day. So people really do appreciate the ability to, I feel they feel that they can trust us, that they appreciate the products we have, the service that we deliver, and it's been good for us. So it allows us to function really well in that online environment as well.
So you have the old school sense of community, commitment to product, passion for the product, but you also have to hire and or train a staff of people who are very conversant in today's technology. That requires something of a video studio with lighting and sound and a background and all manner of things that would have been in no one's job description to work at a drum shop. I mean, YouTube only started in 2007.
That's very true. And we take advantage of doing video and posting it on YouTube. It's much easier to store on YouTube than to have the bandwidth on your own server to store all that video. But along those same lines, we also, in our new large facility in Illinois that we moved to, it's about 7,000 square feet. Half of that is warehouse, and the rest is showrooms. And we also have a fully functioning recording studio in there that we also actually rent out for people to come in and use. But that studio is an integral part of what we do also for our sound files and video files as well.
Old and new school coming together. That's what's going to make it work for everyone, I think.
I think so.
Now, you also have museum pieces in there as well, right? In both shops?
Yes, we do. We have managed collections for people. I've managed Charlie Watts' collection in London for him for many years. vintage gear, and most of that is gear that has been owned by famous people. And we've been fortunate enough to have things pass through our hands or currently owned that were drum sets that belonged to Buddy Rich, Louis Bellson, Rufus Jones, Art Blakey, Max Roach, Kenny Clark, uh, Louis Bellson, on and on. I have one of Art Blakey's kits in my living room at home, as a matter of fact, one of Art Blakey's bop kits, and that's a prized piece of mine that sits in the living room.
Well, Steve, like most people in this industry, I know because I've seen your hands that you're a drummer and always have been, right?
This is true. I started playing when I was about 12 years old. So considering that I'm 64 now, that's a long time. And still love it. Do it every chance I get. Don't get enough of a chance to do it, actually. I'm so busy.
Well, we're all drummers originally, I think, and I like to continue to play as well. That's what keeps me going. Now, I have to touch on a sad subject. You and I and the drum industry, the drum community, lost a very, very beloved member just recently with the passing of Johnny Craviotto.
Yeah, that is a very, very sad event. Absolutely. And, Johnny was a friend of mine for about 17 years. And I had helped him as a partner in the Craviotto business for at least the last 8 years. And Johnny and I had one other partner, Elizabeth Cabraser, wonderful person. I know you know her as
Mm-hmm.
well. And, when Johnny passed, one of the things, the very first things that Elizabeth and I said was, well, this is not up for negotiation. We're going to continue. This business is going to go on. Johnny always wanted his legacy to survive him. And even though none of us were anticipating having to deal with this now, the reality is we are dealing with it now. And I spoke to his team in Watsonville, and Johnny had trained his team superbly. Those guys are able to do everything in the process, and in fact have been for the last several years. So they were all in to go on with the business. Elizabeth and I were. So we said, let's get back to work, keep on building drums, and make Johnny proud. And that's exactly what we've done. I have stepped in to run the business. I've got Greg Gaylord heading up operations and production in the California shop in Watsonville. And I've known Greg as long as I've known
I have a
Johnny.
kit from you that Greg made.
That's exactly right. Greg built the first Maxwell line of
Hmm.
drums. And of course, Dave Victor, who worked for me at my shops and then has worked at Craviotto, is handling the role of sales and marketing for me in the Craviotto world. So we are moving on. And I will have to say, I am really, really thankful for all of the positive words of support we've gotten from everyone since we made this announcement. People have just said they are so glad that the legacy will continue and that we're involved and that we've got their support. And that means a lot to
Here,
me.
here. Well, I didn't know Johnny as well as you did, but for many years I did, and we displayed together in Germany and at NAM, and I loved the man, as did most everybody I knew in the industry. So I'm delighted to hear that you're taking the mantle and just keeping it moving, move the ball forward. Everybody needs those drums, and everybody loves those drums, as we did Johnny. So great, and congratulations to you for doing that.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to do it. For Johnny, we do this for Johnny, for his legacy, and for his family. That's what we're doing
One of the
it for.
greatest drumsmiths who ever lived.
Yes, absolutely.
One of the things that used to be very popular among drummers and fans were clinics. I see fewer and fewer of those these years. What's going on with that?
The clinic thing is really interesting. Back in the 60s and 70s, it was a big, big event. You'd go in, 200 people would
Hmm.
show up. I think what happens now, there are still some clinics going on, and it's very good. My friend at Jim down at Memphis Drum Shop, good friend. Jim does a wonderful job on clinics and live streaming. For us, we have done clinics periodically, and it's a little bit complicated. First off, in New York, we don't have a lot of room, but we just hosted the Stanton Moore Clinic just yesterday, and it was phenomenally good. We had a great turnout, and I was unable to be there, unfortunately, but my guy said it was
I didn't
fabulous.
realize that when I asked the question, but yeah, that Stanton and Jeff are both doing clinic tours behind the new Sabian stuff from our company that we sold to Sabian. So thank you for having the clinic.
Exactly.
That helps us as
Oh,
well.
absolutely.
But
We
I
were
interrupted you. I'm sorry.
thrilled to do it. Thrilled to do it. And but clinics are complicated. There has to be a proper amount of promotion done for it. You have to have the facility big enough to do it. In Illinois, it was always difficult for us because we didn't have the room. Now that we have our warehouse space and we do the monthly jam sessions, we actually have the ability to do them in Illinois, and I'm going to come back and revisit that. And again, clinics, I don't do clinics. When we've done them, we haven't done them in the sense that we really want to make a fortune and make a killing off of this. It's, again, that sense of community, bringing an artist in, and those people who appreciate that artist have a chance to come and see him and not have me run through the room and try to pressure him into buying stuff. That's not what I do it for.
Of course. And going back to what you touched on earlier, I think it's very important that everybody has access to these people so you can read about them, you can look at them on YouTube, but you need to see it. I mean, I watched Elvin Jones play and Art Blakey and Max and Tony and all the greats, and you can't replace that with a YouTube experience.
That's very true. The times I saw Buddy live, I was fortunate enough to see Buddy live about a dozen times in my life, sometimes sitting as close as from 5 feet away. And there is nothing that I have ever seen in my entire life, before or since, that even comes remotely close. And you can't replace that. You can watch the YouTube videos of Buddy, and I've watched those and I've gone, yeah, but you should have seen it live.
Me too. Exactly. Exactly. Well, we're up against the time element here, so I want to thank you for being a part of my show. The Drummer Nation thing is about community too, in that I talk to drummers and percussionists and dealers and manufacturers and everybody related to drumming. If you make music by hitting something with a stick or a hand or anything else, you're a part of the hippest club in the world. And so we count on great dealers like you to help this sense of community. So thanks for doing the show, Steve.
Glad to be a part of it, and thank you for asking, Michael.
And best of luck with Craviato. I know it's in great hands.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Bye.
This is your host, Marco Vosbein, and I want to thank our friends at Atlanta Pro Percussion, Danette Classic Drums, Sabian Cymbals, and Classic Drummer Magazine. We'll see you again in 2 weeks.